working. Okay.
Would you make me get the level out? See it's there. Okay. Probably my speaker. Okay. All right, we're live. According to this, there's four. We would be one, well, we'd be two of that. So there's a couple of people out there. So say hello, whoever is out there. No one's talking to us. Yeah. But we already got a like.
Google wants me to sign out if I want to chat.
Oh.
And I don't know if I remember my password.
Oh, well, that's not good. Okay. So, not seeing anybody yet coming up in the chat. So if you're there, just say hi so we know that we've got some breathing people.
Yeah, I gotta check what my password is.
Oh. Okay, well, Walter's having a technical difficulty. There's Pracy. Hi, Pracy. And we'll just see if there's going to be some more people join us soon. This is, of course, 1 hour later, as you know, because I did an art journaling class this afternoon. Didn't get home until a little after 4 o'clock, so that's why we did this one at 5 o'clock. But I did mention that last week, and I did put it in the announcement today as well about that. So, oh, Jules is here. Hi, Jules. And we'll just see who else is going to be joining us, if it's a few more or not. Ah, Mel's here. Hi, Mel. Haven't seen you in a while. Did you figure out your password?
No. Different again.
Okay. So we got Pracy, we've got Jules, we've got Mel on here right now. So let's start with the general business. The most important thing of the day is what's our cocktail this week? Same as last week.
We still have peaches, so.
It's a peach cocktail. It's the best way to get your fresh fruit. So we're having that. And we've got some hummus and some baba ganoush and some cheese and some naan. And basically leftovers from the dinner party we had last night. More about that in a minute. Now what?
It wouldn't let me in.
What are you in?
No, it's just if I want to chat.
Well, why isn't it letting you in? I don't know. Anyways, Walter's having some technical difficulties with his iPad. Okay, so what's been happening? Update on my mother. Okay, story of the bras. Tuesday, went over to see her, and she mentions to me, oh, can you get your sister to buy me a couple of bras? And I said, yeah, sure, but didn't my sister buy you some bras just a few months ago? Well, yeah, she did. I knew she had. But I said, well, what's going on? Well, they're losing my bras in the wash. And I said, oh, well, that's not so good. But are they really? But anyways, I texted my sister. My sister went out and she bought my mother a couple of bras. Holy crap, bras are expensive. The ones my sister got my mother were $42 a piece. So 90-some dollars with tax for two baziers. So that's kind of much. But anyways,
She probably weren't purchasing it. Well, she doesn't shop at Walmart. So.
Well, no. Well, I don't know what kind of bras they are. I guess maybe bras are expensive. I've heard. But anyways,
Well, underwear, men's underwear can be expensive too if you buy the premium stuff.
Well, yeah, but I don't. If I can't get 10 pairs of underwear for under $3.99 in a package, I don't buy it. But, so anyways, my sister got her these bras and everything. So I said to my mother, talking to her on the phone the other day, I said, Mom, how many bras did you have when you went into the nursing home? Well, she claims she had 5. Okay. Then my sister bought her 2 more bras not so long ago. So that brings your total up to 7. And then she just got 2 more new bras this past week. So that's 9 bras. And she claims that now, counting the 2 my sister just got this week, she only has 3 bras.
But how does she know? Because she doesn't go into her cupboard.
Well, that's the other thing. So I was going to phone the administrator of the home and just mention the fact that these things seem to be going missing, and they're kind of a pricey item, you know, to go out and buy them all the time.
Well, it's also a nuisance that you have to go and buy them, right? So.
Well, yeah, that too. So, hi, Bonnie. So, I'm going to wait until I go over on Tuesday, and I'm going to go through her closet and see if I can find bras and see how many she actually has before I, you know, say anything to the administration there. I mean,
now, mind you, some of them might be in the wash too.
well, yeah, that's a possibility. So, I don't know.
But you know, like I said earlier, like if the labels fall off of them, then they can't tell whose bra's whose.
Well, I suppose.
And I have a feeling that those labels don't stick well on bras.
Well, they maybe not. Walter suggested we get a Sharpie and write on the bra her name. I don't know. Would you want your name on your bra in a Sharpie? I'm not
You
sure.
can get a laundry marker. That's a little better than a Sharpie.
Actually, I do have a laundry marker. So, well, I suppose. Well, I'll see when I go over there on Tuesday. What's Mel say? It's been busy autumn and always midnight here when you start streaming. Oh, yeah. Oh, so do you consider, Mel, right now that in Finland you're in autumn? Because we're still in summer here.
Well, they're more
And-
north than us.
Yeah, I guess it might be a little cooler earlier than we get. Because officially, summer is still here till the 21st of September for us. Bonnie says, where I worked, the labels did not fall off. They were put on with a very hot iron for that purpose. Well, that's how they do it in the
Yeah.
nursing home,
Yeah,
too.
I
So
know.
I don't know.
So I don't know.
I don't know. I'll have to investigate, go through my mother's clothes and look for her bras. Yeah, there's,
They might be stuck in a corner somewhere
well, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, well, that's one of those mysteries I have to deal with. I refuse to buy my mother underwear. That's my sister's job to do that. I
had the pleasure of buying my mother's underwear.
Well, I have no
because I had a
idea.
sister that decided that I had power of attorney, so I was holding the purse strings, so I had to buy it.
You know, Mel says it's already been only plus 3C at night. Days are still quite warm between 14 to 25C. Well, I don't think we've gotten as low as 3 degrees C right now in the evenings, but yeah, the evenings are getting a little cooler already.
Yeah.
Summer only lasts so long. And then we're back to the
it's
winter again.
coolish, today. It's
What?
17 degrees today.
Yeah, well, on Tuesday, though, it's supposed to be going up again higher. It's supposed to be cool tomorrow, and then Tuesday it's supposed to get...
But it's
Warm
still in the teens. It's today it's 17 and it's supposed to go down to, I don't know what it says it goes down to today. Yeah, it's supposed to go down to about 9 in the morning. 9.
Anyways, Bonnie says now you can order them online and no one knows the gender of who is ordering them. Laugh out loud. Well, I don't care. It's not that bothers me about, you know, man buying a bra. It's, I don't know how to buy a bra. I've never had a need to. So, you know.
You don't cross dress as far as I know.
No, and my sister knows what my mother likes. So that's her domain. But I mean, kind of like 2 bras, $90 some. Wow. Didn't realize that bras were really that expensive. Bonnie says chilly here today in New Brunswick. Oh, Bonnie, you're in the East Coast? You're Canadian? I don't think I ever asked you where you're from. I'm assuming NB means New Brunswick. She says it's 16 here today. 16. Chilly here today.
She said yes.
Yeah, okay. Fellow Canadian. Yay! Okay, so that was Mom. So last night we entertained some friends of ours. And I think I've mentioned before that we get together ever so often for dinner. We haven't been, actually, in probably 2 years. Well, yeah, my birthday. My 60th birthday, 2 years ago. But anyways, they were here and we had a good time. I put them to work. They had to do with their own quilted wall hanging. Well, actually, a raw edge applique. They seemed to have fun with that. They're actually quite nice. Some of them made. You didn't make one, did you?
No, I didn't. I was busy trying to make my béarnaise sauce.
Yeah. We had we did dinner with. We started with a Mediterranean salad and some nice bread. And main course was beef tenderloin that Walter cooked in the sous vide, and it came out absolutely perfect. Everybody seemed to enjoy that. But we were going to have béarnaise sauce on it. And we weren't making it from scratch. You get a package, right? And it tells you what to add butter and water to it and stuff like that. Well, Walter made 2 packages of it and curdled both of them.
Of course, it helped that I was reading the instructions wrong.
Yeah, he read the instructions wrong. You didn't put enough water in.
No. Well, thing is that I must have glanced at it quickly because it tells you to add 125 milliliters of butter, right?
Yeah.
And 250 milliliters of water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kept thinking in my head it was 125 milliliters of water. So I wasn't putting enough water in it.
Yeah, so he curdled it. But ran out real quick, got another package, and
Actually, it worked great when I figured out how much water actually had to go into it.
yeah, a lot of things do, you know, when you read instructions correctly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was a nice meal, and Walter had made a pumpkin cheesecake for dessert.
I tried using a hand blender on it, and it was curdled. I could not get it to go back together again.
What?
Prezi says you should have buzzed
Oh.
it in the blender.
Yeah, well, you tried to use the hand blender in it, didn't
Yeah.
you? The brawn kind of thing, and it just refused to work out. Mel says it's good that the worst possible scenario didn't happen in the U.S. with the hurricane. Yeah. Yeah, Tracy says she's still decompressing from hurricane coverage. And Bonnie, is the hurricane up in your end of the world now? It was supposed to, I think, blow up there over the weekend. I haven't seen the news, so I don't know. Okay, so yeah, it was a good time. We had a fun time at the dinner. And
Rain yesterday, she said.
oh, okay, well, that's to be expected from hurricane stuff, but as long as if it's just rain, not so bad. Unless, of course, it's flooding rain, then it's probably very bad. Not much wind. Okay, well, that's good. So it must be dying out. It's losing its strength. So anyways, art journaling class this afternoon. That's why we're on an hour later. And it's our first class after the summer because we didn't meet in June, July, and August. I don't think we met in June. Can't remember. Anyways, they were all glad to be. It's the same group all the time, and they're just great into it. So that was good. Next month, I'm going to teach them how to make a little mini journal using 2 pieces of paper, the way you fold it and decorate it that. And the month after that, we're going to do altered tins. You know, like those.
So Nova Scotia PEI got the worst, strong winds, etc.
Okay, etiquette. When one of us is talking,
Okay, go away.
then the other shouldn't cut in. Because, yeah. And the reason why is because I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, the art journaling class. Okay,
Right.
so it went well. They seemed to have a good time. So, moving on. We've got a leaders debate, as you know. Bonnie would know this, but anybody who's Canadian should know. We have a federal election coming up in October. And so from now until then, there's going to be all kinds of ads on TV, each of the party pulling out everything that they figure is a weakness in the other party and being nasty. Well, they've got their first leadership debate, or all leaders debate, on Thursday of this week. Our Prime Minister is not entering the debate. I have no idea why not. He doesn't given much of an excuse for why he's not going into this debate. I think that's a mistake because, oh yeah, he did give an excuse. He says, oh, there's lots of leaders debates happening between now and the election day, and
There's two other ones or something.
and he says he can't be at them all,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. Well, the one that's happening on Thursday is a major one because it's sponsored by a major Canadian magazine, Maclean's, probably the biggest Canadian magazine that we have.
And
And
it's generally conservative backed.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, and they're going to the opposition. The other ones up against him are just going to rake him across the coals for not showing up. They're going to say he's got things to hide. They'll spin it all into something fake, but nevertheless, people will believe it. And
I don't understand why he's not doing it.
I think it is a mistake for him not to do it. He's a good speaker to start with. He has no fear of getting up in front of a bunch of people or in front of the press or whatever. He's an intelligent man and should be a no-brainer for him because the other leaders of the other parties are not that bright, especially the conservative one. But the conservative one, he'll turn around and he'll lambaste Trudeau for not showing up to this debate. Anything to get ahead in the race. So I hope that people that watch the debate don't think that Scheer's going to win or help support him. Carol's here. Hi, Carol. So Bonnie says that Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island got it the worst, strong winds, etc. Okay. Well, hopefully it doesn't do the destruction that happened in the Bahamas. That's for sure.
It looks like it's blowing out to sea now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, they had downgraded it anyways by the
Yeah.
time or their prediction. I think they said at the most it might be a category 1, but I don't think it's even that. I think it's been reduced to a tropical storm kind of a thing. But anyways, so yeah, that's what's new in the news. We'll see how that all works out. What are we watching on TV? Okay, Prime, if you get Prime, which is Amazon's channel, they have a show that I binged watched called Carnival Row, and it was good. I really liked it. It's kind of like Victorian England meets the mystical world. There's fairies in this, or they call them fae. There's strange creatures that look like they're kind of like rams with horns on their head and stuff like that. But the storyline in it is pretty good. And it takes about 2 episodes to really get into it. But once you are, I really liked it. So I finished it in 2 days. Which is too bad because the next time they come out with probably the next season of it, it'll be a year later and I will have forgotten what I saw beforehand. Bonnie says Nova Scotia had wins in the Cat 2 vicinity. Oh, okay, so it was stronger there. What else? We went to the show last weekend. We saw Toy Story 4 and then we saw this new Spider-Man movie. Both were okay. Toy Story, pretty much the same standard plot of all the Toy Stories, but still entertaining. And Spider-Man, see, I don't like Spider-Man that much. He's not one of the characters in the Marvel Universe or whatever universe they come from that ever thrilled me much out of the other ones. I mean, I preferred like Superman, Batman kind of thing. But it was okay. It wasn't a bad movie. So that was last week. The only thing exciting in terms of cooking we've been doing is, and when I say we, I mean Walter, was the stuff we had for dinner last night when the gang were here.
I made cheesecake.
And he made a pumpkin cheesecake, which wasn't it a combination of a couple of recipes?
Yeah.
The best of sort of thing. And what you used for the crust? You used
Dutch speculaas.
which is Dutch for ginger snaps.
Yeah,
Kinda.
sort of.
But actually makes a really good crust. And everybody went home happy with that, so that was good. And what's coming up? I'm doing all of this stuff in a new order now because instead of sticking what we're going to talk about as our topic of the day right in the middle of all of this, figured it's probably better to get the business parts of these things out of the way first and then get right into the topic. So, Margaret Atwood, Canadian author. If you've heard of The Handmaid's Tale on TV, which has been a very successful series, was based on her first book that she wrote in the 80s. Well, she's now decided to come out with a sequel to it called Testament. I've already pre-ordered it. The book comes out on Tuesday. And on Tuesday, she's giving a live interview for about 2.5 hours that's going to be broadcast at some of the larger movie theaters in our area. So I already bought my ticket for that. Walter's going to the gym. He's not interested in hearing Margaret Atwood, but, you know, I was an English teacher, so I do have an interest.
That's weird.
And, what?
That's weird. Mine's completely lagging behind.
Yeah. Go figure that. I don't know. You and iPods or iPads, no good. So, I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say, but I'm hoping that her new book is just not a repeat of what she's had in the last 2 seasons of The Handmaid's Tale, because she was one of the writers and executive producers of that show. And the first season followed the book itself. But everything that came after the first season is completely brand new. And so now she's coming out with this book, and I just hope it's not a reiteration of exactly what I've already seen on TV, because I hate that. I don't mind reading a book if they make it into a movie, but I like to read the book first before I see the movie. I don't like to do it the other way around. So, because, you know, the books and the movies will always be different. But I like to read the book first, then see the movie. So we'll see what that's all about. And we're going off to Kingston, a place that's about 2 hours away from us or so, to visit some childhood friends of mine. We haven't seen them in a couple of years, but that'll be kind of nice. So we're going to go up there. I guess we're having dinner there or whatever. And we got a hotel room because we don't want to be driving back from there to our place on the same night. So we have a hotel room, and apparently we had a little trouble getting a hotel room.
Yeah, we did.
There's some big thing going on in Kingston that weekend.
Yeah, like I had to get one that's a little bit off the beaten track.
Yeah. But anyways, we were able to do that. Oh, Andy's
Now
here.
you
Hi,
can't
Andy.
get anything. Right now.
No, I know. Well, you said it was almost impossible to get that you got.
It was so bad that the Econo Lodge was the only other place we could have gone, and it was $350 for a night.
In an
In
Econo
an
Lodge.
Econo Lodge.
Which is basically no thrills, no frills. Well, anyways, we got that sorted out. Okay. And that's really about the week. Tomorrow I start class at a quilting class, and Walter starts a class on Tuesday. So 'tis the class season. So we'll be busy with all of those. Bonnie says she finds hotel rooms overpriced. Oh yeah, of course they are.
They always are.
They always are. I mean, that's just the nature of the business, isn't it? So, what's today's topic? Fake news. Is it real? Yes. Fake news. Donald Trump is actually telling the truth. There is fake news. Now, before you jump all over my head and think I'm supporting Trump, and you should know better by now. Anybody that's been a regular here knows I certainly do not. But let's take a look at what we're finding out. Now, right now, since we're going into a federal election, there's a lot of fake news happening. The term the media likes to use for fake news is called spin. Spin is the way something is written in order to attract an audience. Why do I know this? Because I used to teach media as well. And so I would talk to the kids about this whole idea of spin. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're outright lying to you, but it's the order they present information in. And they always try to lead with something that's going to capture an audience interest, get them in, hold them. Because, I mean, after all, television news is basically a program. They have sponsors, they have advertisers. If they don't have an audience, they're not going to exist because they're not going to get sponsors. And that's how they make the money. So, yes, of course, they're going to make the news sound appealing. But does that mean that what they're telling us is true or not true? Well, they don't tell us the truth about everything. For example, what was I going to say as an example? You had
Well, we had one example was the gay pride parades.
Oh, yeah.
Years when there was no gay marriage and there was like gay life wasn't very well accepted in that. We used to go to the pride parades, and they would be really small. They wouldn't have very many people at it or anything like that, and pretty much only gay people were watching it. And then you'd go home and watch it on the news. And what we saw while we were at the parade was not the way they presented it. The way they presented it is they picked out one or two people that were dressed in outlandish costumes, and they'd say, well, look at the sluts.
Look at the nut sluts and the perverts.
Yeah, on Pride Day, look at what they're doing and all this other, despite AIDS and blah, 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 they're doing this, right? They made it sound very negative, and it was a very negative thing that was happening. And now if you see the coverage on the parade, now everything's really positive about it. And yet it really hasn't changed at all, other than it's gotten bigger.
Yeah. It's the same old in the parade. And we've been to many of them over the years. And basically it's the same stuff. But suddenly the news depicts it in another way. And it depends on the news station, where the news station gets its money. And most of our major news stations in this country have affiliations with certain political parties. They won't tell you that, but they do. And if you listen to the content in their broadcasts, you can pretty much figure out who supports the Liberals, who supports the Conservative, who supports, the labor movement, anything like that.
The other example was in 1995, I belonged to a union and I used to work for the Ontario government. And we had a strike because of the government came in and said the new political system that was in decided they wanted to cut back all our jobs and wanted to get rid of a lot of public servants. So we all went on strike to get a better contract. And the news coverage of that strike was completely different than what the strike was about. And news coverage made it sound like we wanted was more money and all this other stuff. And that wasn't really the issues that were there. So it would really make me mad when I came home and saw what was on the news because it was nothing like what we were striking for. The issues were completely different.
Well, they did the same thing with teachers too, and they're doing it right now. They're turning around and the news is saying things like that teachers won't lose jobs because of the cutbacks the government's placed upon the education system. Now, mind you, they're reporting what the government is saying. It's not them per se. They're just supposedly reporting it. But depending on, again, which news broadcast you listen to, there can be a bit of a bias for the government or against the government. And Bonnie says, what about CBC? Do they support whoever's in office?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. CTV News is basically supports the Conservative government.
And always has.
And always has. City TV, which is based out of Toronto, usually is more supports the Liberals a little bit more, or to a certain extent the NDP.
Yeah. You can usually tell if they have like conversations in certain political commentators which way they're kind of spinning it. But they also, CBC still spins the news stories too to make it sound like to whatever they get the maximum support.
Yeah, well, they want an audience. They want an audience that's going to stay with them so that they can attract advertisers. It's all about big business. And anytime there's money involved in anything in the public sector, you know that you have to take what you're told with a grain of salt, because it's the interests of the group that hold the biggest bag of money in that case. So I don't know. I would like to have thought that a lot of people are intelligent enough that they realize this is what the news is doing. But I have discovered from teaching media that no, a lot of people see what they see on TV, hear on TV, they believe it because it's the news. The news is supposed to be unbiased. Yeah, no, the news is not unbiased. As Carol says, it's the same in the States. News is biased one way or the other. Almost always. Yeah, of course it is. But a lot of people think because it's a news program, it's dealing with the real stuff, like reality, it's not a fictional television show, that it's true. Okay, here's one way they manipulate you. Okay, if you listen to them give a report about a car bombing somewhere in the Middle East, you will see pictures all the time of all these people standing around a blown out car or a building that has been crumpled. There's all these people all over the place in the whole bit. That's not the actual picture of the explosion they're talking about. That's stock footage. And if you'll notice, if you listen to what they say very carefully, they will never say to you, unless it actually is, they will not say, and here is a shot of the area that was affected. No. But because they're linking that image up with whatever they're talking about, our brains put the two together and think this is actually it. And what images do when they use it, rather than just talk, is it reinforces in our mind that this must be real. This actually is how it happened. Now, I'm not saying that they're necessarily, when they're reporting a suicide bomber or something like that, that they are necessarily spinning it, but it could depend on...
Well, it could depend on if they don't happen to have any real footage of it.
Yeah.
Or if it's too graphic.
Well, how would you have any actual footage of it going off unless you happen to be there at the time and you happen to be shooting with your camera? Like,
I was not necessarily saying that none of it's true. Like that some may actually have real things, but a lot of times it's not
it's not the actual event. I mean, they could have been aftermath from something else, or maybe an aftermath when the bombing there happened, but not 9 times out of 10. That's not actually what you're seeing on TV as a picture, coupled with this particular news story, doesn't necessarily mean that picture is actually exactly what's being reported in the news
story.
Sort of
like, do you believe everything the National Enquirer writes?
Yeah, well, there you go. Talk about your fake news. Two-headed alien, produced my baby. But that's one of the ways they manipulate us. And so, seeing is believing. The old adage? Well, that's why they do it. I mean, back in the days when we didn't have television, when it was definitely way before my time, but radio broadcasts.
The old Orson Welles one where they had the War of the Worlds. And
yeah, you just jumped on me.
Okay.
Yeah, well, what he said. But before talk about that, I was going to say all you had to go on was what the announcer was saying, and they were reading from their sheets of information. In those days, I think the news was a little bit more reliable until Orson Welles. And Orson Welles, of course, everybody knows, did his War of the Worlds as a radio play, but they made it sound like it was a live radio broadcast at the site of where this invasion was taking place. And of course, a whole lot of people heard that, thought it was the real thing, because of the way scenes were being described. They didn't have any visuals to go by, and it caused a panic with it. And I think really that's one of the most significant events in news reporting in history, because I think it was after that a lot of news stations got the idea that, if we write our news in a certain way, we're going to attract a bigger audience. And that spin was born. And that spin is what Trump would refer to today as fake news. Because the news is fake, some of it. Not to the point where it's an outright lie, but it's twisted. Mel says that's true. Fake news, bad news, etc. sell so much better than truth and positive news. Yeah. And Dylan J45, welcome. The entire thing is fake. CNN owner Jeff Zucker helped Trump get the show The Apprentice and helped get him selected by repeating his name every 5 minutes. And Tracy says CNN is not fake. Fox is. No, I would debate with you, Tracy.
Yeah.
CNN is fake too. They're just a little bit more sophisticated in the way they report the news. And let's be clear about the word fake, okay? We're using this word fake. First thing you think of when we say the word fake is false, that it's wrong. What I'm saying is give the word fake the definition that things have been manipulated and twisted in such a way that they have a bias to them. And the reason they have the bias is because they're either supporting somebody who eventually can get them more money, or it's to attract people to watch it so they can attract advertisers to fund their station, because news is big money.
I'm not saying that all of it is fake, but they may have, or all of it's false, but they may spin it. It's like sometimes you see, like you can go on any YouTube and they'll take maybe one of Trump's speeches and cut it all up and make it sound like it's completely different than what it actually is.
Yeah, it's called sound bites. And that's another technique that's used by news broadcasters. When they do interviews with people, you only ever see part of the interview, and it's been edited because they've taken some of the stuff out of order in order to make it sound more interesting or to manipulate it so the message that comes across is very different from the original message that was there. They do this all the time. You want a good example of that because everybody sees it every day. Watch advertising for television programs or for movies. Trailers. Okay? How do trailers work in movies? Right? You're not seeing the chronological order of the events that are going to happen in the movie. You see a piece from the beginning, you may see one closer to the end, and a couple of pieces from the middle, and they juxtaposition them together, side by side, to create a different version.
They even sometimes use stuff that was cut out of the movie.
Yeah.
And then you watch the movie and you never saw anything that was in the trailer.
And Andy, let's see, just backing up here. Trump campaign financed by Israeli citizens. I think Trump and the word fake are synonymous, depending on how you define fake. Yep. Tracy says Fox News was sued years ago, and they admitted they were an entertainment show, not truth. Yes, I remember that. And that is, there's a fine line between reporting the news and reporting news to inform and reporting news to entertain. And sometimes that line blurs between the two. Because again, it goes back to trying to attract and maintain an audience.
Yeah, like during the war, there weren't any TVs. There was like everybody went to the movie show, and they had propaganda.
The newsreels.
Newsreels in it. My mom lived through that time in Holland, and my mom said, when they were going through the war, they had no idea. They knew Jews were being rounded up, but they had no idea why that was happening. They had no idea about the concentration camps until after the war ended. All they knew is that people were being rounded up.
And that's another definition of what fake news is. Fake news is a form of propaganda. What's propaganda? Propaganda is where some truth is taken and twisted and manipulated in such a way to convince people to believe in something very specific. That's the definition of propaganda. And so, apply that definition to any news show you see on TV. And it's all propaganda for one reason or another. Again, it goes back to who's supporting them the most financially. Let's see. Hitler used fake news to justify invading Poland. Yes. And Trump is the complete opposite of what he promises. Yes, that's for sure, during his campaign. Fox News owned by Israeli citizen who is on the board of Genie Oil Company. That's why they push anti-Muslim content and push for war in the Middle East. So you see, yes, private interest groups that have a lot of money have a lot of control over the media. It happens in our country too. CTV News is owned by corporations that are owned by conservatives. And so their agenda is the one that gets pushed the most because they've got the biggest bucks in behind the station. The conservatives are deathly afraid of liberalism taking over. Because if liberal took over, everyone would be happy and the cons would have no jobs. Okay, but the left, the liberal element, also is to blame for fake news too, because they're pushing their agenda on things. And so they spin whatever they do. It's all tied together. So it comes down to questions. What do we believe? Who do we believe? And the answer to that's easy. You can't believe anybody because everybody's trying to manipulate you. Let's see here. Tracy says Fox is owned by Saudis, but now Disney. And Mel says fake news is selected truth. Yeah, exactly. Now we're arguing over who owns Fox News. Now it's Tracy Rupert Murdoch owns Fox News. The Irvings own all of the newspapers in New Brunswick. Yeah, Irvings is a very rich family, oil-based. I think they're oil-based. Yeah, they are. And everything. So, yeah. And I would venture to say, I don't know a lot about the Irvings, but I would venture to say that they're probably, what's that?
Prezi says Disney owns it. I said, who owns Disney?
Oh. Yeah, Disney's is their own corporation, their own entity. The entire purpose of our government is to preserve individual liberty. Rupert created it, no longer owns it. Okay. I don't, Dylan, I'm not sure what you mean by the entire purpose of our government is to preserve individual liberty. You talking about American government? Because my God, I don't think the American government has any interest in individual liberty. That's just a catchphrase. I don't think the American government cares about its people, period. If the American government cared about their people, you would have universal health care. You wouldn't have an idiot in Washington as the head of your country. You wouldn't have people running around with multiple firearms, like trucking down to Walmart to pick up a carton of eggs and make sure you've got your gun so that somebody doesn't try to shoot you first. No, believe me, from where we stand, as Canadians, the last thing the American government is doing is protecting individual liberty. And if you think they are, then your definition of liberty is very different from my definition of what individual liberty is. You see, Americans think because they've got this Constitution, which Americans love to quote the Constitution everywhere in the world. Yeah, well, that's all part of the propaganda. The American Constitution, if you want to talk about where propaganda came from, go back to the founding fathers of the United States and their Declaration of Independence and the whole bit and the Constitution. Basically, that's one of the best examples of a piece of propaganda that was ever created in the world. It gives people a false sense of security that they have rights. And yet, let's go back to the 1960s and look at the whole civil rights movement and what white America was doing to black America and the whole bit there. If they care about individual liberty, maybe it's individual liberty for some and not for all. Well, how's that work? So, I'm not saying our country... Yeah, I am saying our country's better when it comes to that kind of thing. But, different culture, okay? All right, let's move up here. Geez, lots going on here.
Prezi and Dylan are having an argument.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Tracy. The U.S. government is about suppressing liberty. And actually, I think you could say that for almost any government in the world to a certain extent. I mean, basically, the people that are in governments anywhere in the world, I don't believe very many of them are in it because they're self-sacrificing individuals and they want to do something good for people. Maybe they started out that way, but the system soon corrupted them enough that they're out to protect their own asses and their own interests. Maybe I'm a cynic. I don't know. Oh, I probably am. Hi, Cindy. Dylan says Second Amendment should not be infringed.
Get rid of the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I don't understand, Dylan, what you mean by that.
No, yeah, like
The Second Amendment's the one where they quote all the time that they have the right to bear arms, right?
Right, yeah.
And all that. Not be infringed. So are you saying, Dylan, that you agree that the Second Amendment should remain as is, that it shouldn't be wiped out or altered in such a way, given the whole idea of gun control, mass shootings, all that kind of stuff? I'm a little unclear there what you're talking about. And Priest says, Dylan, gun rights were about muskets. I don't think they are at all. They all should be in prison. Okay, I think there's this conversation stream I'm not picking up here. I'm missing out. Tracy, it's all about small arms being able to fight the government. Okay, I'm lost. Okay, I'm very lost. Okay.
Dylan has 45 in his name.
Yeah. Yes, you should be allowed to own any type of gun. Oh, he agrees that you should be allowed to own any type of gun. Okay, Dylan. Oh, well, this conversation today is not on gun control. We've done that one before and talked about it. But just to say, so a gun that's capable of ripping through 3 inches of steel, shooting down a whole bunch of people with just by holding the trigger, it's all automatic in that. So you're saying that everybody should be able to just go out and buy one of those kind of guns too, and that's fine? I don't think that's fine. Tracy, Dylan and you are mental. Yes, we should allow to own any type of gun. Sorry, we're having 2 debates at once. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, Tracy, be nice. Keep the conversation civil here, okay? Everybody's entitled to their opinion, even if it's wrong. So back to propaganda, fake news, and everything like that. So, okay, there's an example. Fake news. Well, let's even move on to other ways that you we're being twisted all the time. By the media. Okay, so let's face it. The news is part of the media, right? You hear the word media and probably the first thing you think of is the news program. But media also involves advertising. It involves the shows we watch for entertainment. It's involved with products that are being sold. Media is everywhere. You can't escape it. Advertising is a form of propaganda. Again, definition of propaganda is where you put something out there and shape it in such a way that you're able to manipulate the minds, the opinions, and the habits of people. That's propaganda. So advertising, obviously, is a good example of that, because what's advertising all about? It's to get you to buy a certain product, right? And do they spin it? Sure they do. They use words like new and improved. Well, that's nice. New and improved. How is it improved? They don't really. Now it's got 50% more, and they give you some title of something you've never heard of before, but the way they say it, it makes it sound very positive. That's all propaganda. That's all fake news. Because we've all been suckers that we've bought a new product and it didn't deliver what they told us it was going to deliver, right? Well, we've all been famous for, or we've all experienced putting in somebody into power that did not deliver what they said they were going to deliver. Oh, that's called a politician and they lie. Yes, they all do.
We still have this running debate here.
Yes, their presses we need to come out. Other than that, military, there's no reason for individuals to own assault rifles. Carol's is to fight our government.
How does having a gun
I don't know.
work to fight your government?
No idea. Conservatives are oppressors. Pracy, so is the left. There's no difference. No, that is why we have the right to vote. Wish more would use it. You guys are having your own little debate here. We'll just sit back and watch on this one. So anyways, Yeah, it started something here with the whole gun. Well, we know that the gun control thing right now is a hot topic. Uh, but there's other topics. So, other things they do in fake news. We've talked about visuals, linking them up with what they're talking about, but not necessarily being an actual visual of the actual thing. Other way is in their voices. In the old days, back in the radio days, when they read the news, it was usually quite boring because there it was laid out on a sheet, facts, and the news announcer was told to read it clearly. But now you watch how news is read. The inflection in their voice, the way they emphasize certain words. Couple that with the way news anchors look. They're always beautiful people. The women all have nice hair, nice outfits on, perfect makeup. The gentlemen all have tans, blue eyes, nice hair, nice suit, and the whole bit. It's all there to give you a sense that what they are telling you is the truth. Because who will you believe the truth from? You have two people telling you the same story. Are you going to believe the one that's dressed in a business manner, in a suit, a tie, looking respectable, or some guy that's wearing a dirty old t-shirt and a pair of ripped jeans? Which one is more reliable? Well, most of us would probably be pulled over by the one in the business suit because they look professional. But who's telling the truth? You don't know from that. Let's see. Liberals push so much regulation, it's insane. It costs $50,000 for a piece of paper giving permission to build a home in California. And no wonder why there's millions of homeless. Precy, I did, and he is the exact opposite of what he promised us. Okay. Then you are the problem. Okay, today's topic has been hijacked by Dylan and Precy. Okay, interesting. I'm getting more of a kick out of you two going at it. We'll just listen to you two, read you two on here. Okay, there could be bloodletting.
Luckily, you can't
Good thing,
fire a gun
yeah.
through YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, well, you guys just go at it. Yeah, tooth and nail. Strangle each other. Blood and guts. So anyways, what else can we say about fake news? I think the thing is a lot of people are...
Yeah, I think what you should be doing is you have to, like a certain amount of the news is real, right? And you have to sort of try and decipher what part of it's real and what part of it's not real. Or don't always necessarily think it's actual.
But how do you do that? How do you know? You have to be a person who has a level of intelligence that allows you to read between the lines to understand subtext. There's an awful lot of people in our society that aren't up to that level. And the reason I say that is, look at how many people are suckered in by the scams that are on the internet and phones that call up and say, oh, guess what? You have more money coming back from the government from your income tax. There was a mistake. Go here. If those ploys did not work to a certain degree, then they wouldn't exist. So obviously these crooks, and we talked about scammers way back a month or so ago, obviously there are people out there that are getting suckered in. The news the media is doing the same thing. They know that there's a certain percentage of society out there that will believe everything at face value. And so they give it to them. I mean, I think the one group that probably trains people to be skeptical is probably the late night show talk hosts. Because, like, what's his name?
Jimmy Kimmel?
No, the other one. Daly? No, the one who's always cutting up Trump.
Carson Daly? I'm not sure.
No, I can't remember. It's the Late Late Show, or I don't know what they call it. Anyways, he does it in a comical way, but he does agree that the comedians really do expose, I think, the truth behind a lot of these things. In their sarcasm, in their a way of cutting people up for a laugh, I think they reveal the truth more than anything with it. But then again, how can we be sure? Because how do we know the truth? You know, the X-Files used to say the truth is out there. Yeah, where is it? How do we know? Oh, this is really getting juicy here. Little soap opera. Let's see. Dylan says, I'm speaking out against what is wrong with our country. Praise says, Dylan, you loved him. You saw him by me be mean and nasty and horrible to people. Own it. And stop blaming liberals for your poor choices. Dylan says, Obama was no better than Trump, and Hillary wouldn't have been either if it's a two-party dictatorship. Dylan says, you need to wake up. You're just like Fox News bot. Obama was fabulous, and you were brainwashed into hating him. At least Obama had integrity. True. Agree with you, Bonnie, on that one. Dylan, don't blame me because you voted poorly. Don't. Conservatives preach personal responsibility. I wasn't brainwashed into having him. I think everyone having health care is common sense. The way he did everything was ridiculous. And Carol says, that I agree with Dylan. All candidates are bad at this time. Neither party has good candidate. All owe their souls to their company store. Yep.
We have the same problem in Canada.
We have the same problem here. It's just maybe not quite as obvious because, you know, news story this week, moose hit. No one seriously injured. Okay. Or in Ontario, beer for $1.
My earth says, this is watching good boxing match.
Yeah, actually, Tracy and Dylan, you two should get together and have your own YouTube station. You know, one of you take one side of the issue, the other one debate. I think you'd get a lot of viewers. And nothing but special interest, and they keep the country divided between Fox News and CNN bots. Yeah. Actually, the weird part is I think Americans love to watch the news. I think they love to watch the news more than Canadians do. The reason I say that is every time we go down to the States and we're in a hotel room, all the channels seem to be nothing but news channels. CNN, Fox, a bunch of other ones. And if it's not those, it's just their so-called reality shows, which, you know, we know those aren't real. Okay? Sorry if I blew the bubble, sort of like telling you there isn't a Santa Claus for that. Yeah, so what more can we say about fake news? Is it real? Yes. Fake news is real. It exists in terms of stuff told in such a way that we're not getting the full story and we're not getting it accurately told to us. And we're getting sucked in. It's simple as that. And everybody gets sucked in. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, you can still get sucked in. I think also part of it is that it plays upon our own personal views and bias. And so whether or not, you know, if they say something that we ourselves are already thinking, then suddenly it's the truth. But do we always tell the truth? And one man's truth is another
Bonnie
man's
says,
lie.
yeah, they have mostly USA news and nothing much about other countries like
Oh, yeah.
we do.
Americans don't understand that there's something called the 49th parallel, and there's a whole big country, second largest land mass in the world, north of that line. And you want a good example of that? Go down into the States, and I don't care what part of the States you go to. It can be the parts that are close to the border,
yeah.
or you can go down to the deepest, darkest south in there, and when they show the weather, and they show the weather map, there's the United States, nothing above it, nothing below it. Just a vague outline of something, and the whole bit. We know more about Americans' news than Americans know about Canadian news. Okay? So that brings me to the point that if they are controlling how much information they're putting out to their people through the news, they limit it. Now, that's a form of censorship. And censorship is also one of the touchstones to propaganda. Okay? And just because you omit things does not mean you're telling the truth. Omission of fact is the same as telling a lie. So, fake news. Again. Carol says, are you sure, Stephen? Thought it was all wilderness up there. Yep. That's what I mean. Okay, to be fair, we do have a lot of wilderness, okay? But, you know, large country, small population in terms of the size of the country, the landmass. But yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah, and we have snow year round too. So come ski in July. Yeah, no. Um, what else is it down here? Dylan, the reason Obamacare broke was because Republican governors refused to implement it. And Carol says, Tracy, it also got very expensive. Tracy says, Dylan, before Obamacare, I was paying $1,500 a month. After Obamacare, I paid $500 a month. Tracy, there's way more to it than that. Our medical industry is completely corrupt. And Tracy says, Dylan, it's corrupt because of conservatism. And Andy says, I watch news from the UK even though I'm in the States. Love watching the Parliament debate. Yeah, so Dylan and Tracy are just having their own private little debate here, people. So, you know, you can tune in on two different channels in one channel, kind of a thing. So, anyways, what more can we say about fake news? It exists. So Trump is not wrong. Trump is right. There is fake news. But he's fake news himself, so yeah. Well, I can't think of anything else to say about this topic. Obamacare was great, and there are so many things that are more valuable than money in the long run, like healthcare for everyone. It's both sides behind the scenes. They are all friends laughing at all of us peasants. Tracy, I'm not your enemy, dude. Kiss and make up, you two. Nothing fake about Bianca winning the U.S. Open. No, true. That looks pretty good. I mean, I don't follow tennis, but now, you know, you hear about this and that she won the U.S. Open and the whole bit. So you gotta be, you know, as Canadians go, yay.
Everybody makes mistakes when they vote once in a while.
Andy says, love the revised weather report from the White House. Oh, what's the revised weather report? I have a feeling it's fake news. Because I haven't heard that. Sharpie Gate. Sharpie Gate?
Oh, that thing about, yeah, there was something about the hurricane.
Yeah.
Hurricane's path, and you put a Sharpie mark somewhere, and I can't remember.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was going to hit the Gulf of Mexico. He drew it out for. Yeah, that was one. That was one of the late night.
Trump, the new weatherman.
Yeah, Georgia. Oh, it was
Actually,
Georgia.
there is something that he did sort of get right. He was talking about Canadians crossing the border, and they're wearing shoes that they buy in the States. And they make them look old and all this other stuff. Yeah, sometimes that happens because they get. Some women used to go down to the States and to the U.S. and go on a shopping spree. And when you're only out of the country for 48 hours, you're only allowed to bring back a couple $100 worth of stuff. So when they pack the car full of all their stuff that they bought, they don't want to pay the extra duty to bring it across.
Yeah. And I don't know why was he even bringing that up.
I don't know.
What big deal?
I think everybody does that when they go to another country and come back and they're not allowed a certain amount of money. They'll just bring back.
Bonnie says it's $800 after 48 hours.
Oh, okay. That's changed. Yeah, that's changed over the years.
Yeah, it used to be a lot less than that. Now it's.
Yeah, now I guess they don't have to do that anymore.
Oh. Of course, mind you, the price on things anyways, $800 won't get you much.
$500 US.
Yeah, basically. So. Okay, so what else can we say here? Well, I'm out of ideas on this. I think we've talked about it all.
Who would have been the best president in the last 100 years? Who?
Well, he would have been the best president in the last 100 years. I don't know. Is he talking about this Ron Paul person?
Maybe.
I don't know who. Or Bernie Sanders. A libertine. No, it must be about this Ron. Well, I don't know who that is. No other.
You got us. We don't know that.
Yeah. Precy, Hillary would have been worse. Oh yeah, Dylan says, yeah, Ron Paul. Don't know who that is.
Have no idea.
But if he's in politics, then he's probably an a-hole. Because quite frankly, I feel, and I don't care who they are, even our own prime minister, that many of us dearly love. He's kind of our Obama. He's an asshole too. So, I mean,
They all are.
they're all assholes. You have to be an asshole to be a politician. You really do. You've got to be self-centered, power-hungry, a control freak who basically wants to be in the limelight to create a name for themselves. I mean, they're not there for the people. Not at all.
Milliard. Prezi versus Dillon. Round 2. The winner's still Prezi. Says Zabani said, yeah, I like Jack Layton. Didn't think he was an a-hole.
Yeah, Jack Layton, though, he's had a whole, since his untimely or his sudden death kind of a thing, people really kind of forget the controversies around people like him, and say only positive things. Jack Layton wasn't perfect. Jack Layton, when he was in the municipal government, the Toronto municipal government, he rocked a lot of boats, and not necessarily in a positive way either. He had his dark horse as well.
Yeah, well, Bonnie says that no one's perfect. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
true. He wasn't perfect. He was actually not a bad guy.
But he wasn't a bad guy, I don't think, as people go.
But the problem is you start getting up into the higher end of politics and everything else, then people have to follow the party line, and they also have to follow what public wants. So I don't know.
Tracy, I just want you to know that we still love you, okay? Regardless of what Dylan is saying right now. So, but Dylan, that's okay. You're certainly adding some life here. Stuff. I hope you two don't know where each other live. Because there goes that second
cult
amendment.
member.
Yeah. Oh, this is pretty good.
Prezi says, well,
Yeah. Oh, well. Okay, people, I think we're going to shut her down.
I'm a free-thinking woman.
Number 3. Yep. Well, I could make a comment about that right now, but then I would be being very sexist. So no, I'm not going to do that. I still love you, Tracy. I mean it. That makes me sad that we are forced to choose between people who are dishonest and egotistical for our president. Yeah, but they're the only ones that have the money to run.
And they're the only ones that are running.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, that's the other thing, too. It's only a small percentage of the population of any country that can actually afford to run for office. You can't run for office for nothing. And you have to have a lot of money behind you from certain sources. And when you've got other people sponsoring you, i.e. corporations, then guess what? They don't do that out of the love of you. They're doing it because they want something from you. They look at this as an investment in their future. Okay, so they want a talking head in the government that will get them what they want that's to their benefit. Tracy says she doesn't need a big daddy to tell her how to think. And Tracy, then quit letting liberal propaganda tell you what to think. You're smarter than that. Personally, I think all politicians suffer from some form of psychopathy. Andy says, yeah, probably. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yep. And Dylan Tracy says, I'm liberal because I'm smart. Yes, that's why I'm a liberal too, Tracy. For sure. Because I'm smart. Mel says, and finally, Tracy versus Dylan, round 3. And the winner is Dylan. That's fake news. Oh, this is pretty good. On here. What's Dylan say? Tracy, that's when I used to say when I believe right-wing media. Okay. All right, people. I'm tired. we've had a busy weekend. So we're going to cut it a little short today. But
Thanks for the entertainment.
Yeah, thanks for the entertainment. That was kind of nice switch for things on here. So we do have a list of a whole variety of different topics that Walter found on the internet that sound kind of interesting. Some not so much, but others.
Dylan says, thanks for not kicking me out. Have a good day.
Hey, you're entitled to express your opinion, okay? You didn't badmouth anybody. You didn't call them a derogatory name or anything like that. I mean, yeah, we draw the line at that. But everybody has the right to express their opinion, even if it's wrong. I'm just Joshua with you, Dylan. But yeah,
and that's why people vote, right? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people that voted for Trump, or there's people that vote for any particular party. I mean, that's how they get in. That's how they get votes, right? So,
I get kicked out of right-wing chats, Dylan says, even though I voted Trump. Okay, well, anyways, I kind of didn't want to go this conversation to go back to Trump, but everything seems to lead back to Trump, doesn't it? Even for those of us that aren't Americans.
Well, what are you drinking today? Fuzzy Navels, the same as last week.
Yeah, it's the same as last week. We had peaches.
We still have peaches, so, and they were beginning to go bad, so.
Yeah, so it's time to how to get your fruit content. Bonnie says, I will change the topic. Okay, well, we've got ones. Maybe we'll pick something next week from our list that will be more difficult to fall back on to talking about Trump. Here's what I'm sure you'd all be interested in. A woman's place is in the home. Debate. Or how about a man should have a wife for the family and a mistress for pleasure? Where'd you get these from?
I don't know. I got them. I say controversial topics to talk
You will be happier if you stay unmarried. Democracy must be imposed on all nations. Chinese-style government is superior to Western.
Carol says, are we alone in the universe?
Oh, that would be a good one. Actually, I'll write that down because, yeah, we haven't talked about space.
There's the ones about women staying at home.
The ones about a woman staying in the home, yeah. Oh, barefoot and pregnant and chained to the stove. Right. I am sure this, considering I think that most of our viewers happen to be of the female persuasion, I'm sure that would go over like a lead balloon. Bonnie says, I like the one about the universe. I like that one too. I think that might be really interesting to talk about fact. Oh, here we go. Fact or fiction. But like science fiction novels oftentimes predict what's going to be in the future, and it's come true. For example, Jules Verne, he wrote about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. When he wrote that, submarines didn't exist. After they put out the book, part of the reason there were submarines is because he instilled the idea of something like that. I mean, there was other influences as well, but a whole lot of things there. So next week, we're going to talk about, are we alone in the universe? Our own version of the X-Files. The truth is out there. Maybe.
Not only that, what would happen? I mean, this is...
First contact.
Yeah, what would happen to our governments if suddenly some superior being landed on the
That's
Earth?
true. Would this make us come together as a planet instead of as individual countries with very specialized interests? What, it brings up all kinds of possibilities. And it also even questions religion. Is there a God then? Or does this just reinforce that there is a God? So there's a lot of things here, I think, that at first glance you might not think could generate discussion, but I think that one will generate a lot of discussion. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. Are we alone in the universe? Get your tinfoil hats ready for that discussion. Oh, Andy, that's kind of a cute idea. We'll see what we can do with that. Okay, that's it for us today, people. Thank you for joining in on this conversation. Sorry that Well, I'm not sorry. That is basically the new Tracy and Dylan show, as opposed to Stephen and Walter Live, but that's okay. It was definitely interesting. So we'll see you guys next week. Next week we'll be on at the usual time, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ooh, wait. Yeah, we will be. We'll be home by then because we're going to Kingston next weekend. Yeah, but we'll be home by then.
Yeah.
So
we'll leave early.
yeah, because there's nothing there to hang around for. So everybody have a good what's left of Sunday, if it's Sunday wherever you're calling from. I'm on the side here, and we'll see you all next week.
Goodbye.
Bye for now.